Technology is defined as types of devices which have been developed with scientific knowledge and which can be used for multimedia purposes. Throughout the construction, research and planning of my teaser trailer, I have used various media technologies that have enabled me to research about my media genre and teaser trailer, plan in an organised and structured way and manipulate my footage to create what it has become, and finally technologies that have enabled me to present my evaluation in multimedia ways. Within the research stages of my production, I needed to look into the conventions of a teaser trailer as well as the conventions of our chosen genre, which is horror. For this, I used a computer, which enables me to have access to the search engine Google, where I could type any question into the search bar, which will provide me with a list of websites which I can use to gain information. For example, I searched for narrative theorists, which provided me with various websites that enabled me to receive the information I wanted. I also used the internet to use websites such as YouTube. YouTube is a video sharing website which allows everyone and anyone to upload content. I use this a lot when researching into the conventions of a teaser trailer, as I had to view various teaser trailers so I could gain information on the conventions and gain inspirations for when it comes to my own teaser trailer. I used to use the internet for research in both of my ancillary tasks. I googled things such as key terms of the conventions of a magazine and a poster so I could gain an understanding of what was needed and to be included, and I also used Google Images to see what actual magazine covers and posters for a film looked like. From my audience research, it was said about my film magazine looked very realistic and would fit in with real-life film magazines, showing my use of research through technology has enabled me to be successful in creating a realistic product. I also use IMDb a lot within my research for my teaser trailer, and again this enabled me to watch teaser trailers, which I needed to do to receive a good understanding of the expectations needed. Within my research, I also use boxofficemojo.com, which is a website that allows you to see how well films within a certain genre do and individual films. This is helpful within my research as it allowed me to see if there was a gap for my film within the market and helped to identify a type of audience and horror films that were already successful. Overall, the internet and various websites are very helpful, especially within the research stage of the production task. The internet has enabled me to gain information that I would have otherwise not known, and therefore my research would have been weaker and my evidence behind the conventions of a teaser trailer and a magazine cover and a poster would be weak. As I was able to use the internet, this has resulted in a supported argument when looking into the conventions and various other research. Within the planning stages, most of the technology used within this stage was for presentational aspects, as all of the work I created was my own and I had already conducted research. The first media technology I used was Powtoon, which is an online application that allows animated presentations to be created. I thought this was a fun way to present some of the work, and it was a lot more visually pleasing than just PowerPoint, as it allowed for there to be more animation and you could even add music onto the background. This broadened my use of multimedia applications for the presentational devices I used. I used a lot of other presentational applications such as Slidebeam, SlideShare, which enable PowerPoint presentations, and Scribd, which allowed Word documents. I also used Poster websites, which I thought were more versatile than just using Blogger itself. As seen here, the tree is something that relates to my choice of ideas, which is the woods, and are incorporated, and I thought this was an interesting way of presenting my work. I also used voiceovers on YouTube videos and used Windows Live Media to create a digital storyboard, which was again a fun way to present my work and made presenting my work a lot more fun to create and more visually pleasing to watch. Overall, I think the use of various presentational websites, including Blogger, the platform in which I presented all of my work, including this, has made me gain a vast knowledge of various media platforms that have enabled me to create something versatile and more visually appealing. Within the production task of creating the actual video, I mainly used Adobe Premiere to edit all the footage which we filmed. This provided me with a lot of various editing techniques. I already had a basic knowledge of how to use Premiere, so this knowledge came into use so that I could strengthen my editing skills further during this task. Premiere enabled me to create the camera record template with the flashing red button. It was very easy to create and the effect was realistic and added something a little different to my teaser trailer. I did a quick tutorial on how I created this to show just how versatile and easy Premiere was to use during my production, and I learned the various possibilities it could provide. I started with making a new title, and then I chose the line tool. I zoomed as much as possible so I could get the right size. I then held down the shift button on the keyboard so that it makes the line straight and doesn't allow it to curve or anything like that. I then drew a horizontal line and a vertical, both of which were of the same size, and connected the two to make a corner. I then copy and pasted each line into the other three corners, and copy and pasting guaranteed that I would get the same size of each line. I then added in text and wrote out the record button and changed the size so that it would fit nicely on the top left-hand corner. I then clicked off this and created another new title. In this one I decided to make the red flashing button. I'd done this by creating a circle and filling it in with red, and then changed the size that it fits nicely into the corner on the inside of the record sign. I then came off this and placed both titles over the top of each other. To get the red button flashing, I simply cut out parts of the title every now and again to create a flashing effect. I then finally placed the timecode edit on the clips that I wanted the record template to be on and adjusted the time so that it looked realistic, and it was done. And this is the finished effect. I think for the point of view shots that I placed this on, it was really realistic and made it more visually pleasing. Overall, the use of Premiere was very helpful in creating my teaser trailer and enabled me to create certain effects that enhanced my video further and created verisimilitude, which enabled me to be more entertaining for my audience. When conducting audience research, they commented on how the recording template enhanced the point of view shots, although they did say that I could have added a little battery sign or something extra to make it more realistic. I also use Adobe After Effects to create my titles. After Effects allows you to make animated titles and words along with animatic backgrounds. I do have experience already within After Effects, as I used it already when creating my titles last year within my production. This meant for my teaser trailer that I was able to develop my skills further and creating titles that looked more professional and fitted in with my horror genre. Here I'm going to show you how I created my titles. They were simple and easy to make, and I think the end result worked well. I decided to first of all change the reality title to red, as conventionally this title stood out the most in various other trailers I looked at within research, so I thought this would be appropriate for my production. I chose the use of the Franklin Gothic text, as it looked as though it fitted within the horror genre well and had a medieval look to it, yet was clean and professional looking. I chose the red colour for text, then I added some fractal noise to the text, and this made it have a faded effect in places, and I thought it looked well for the horror genre. I also done this when creating the other titles, which can be seen here. I just changed the colour to white to achieve this effect and added a clouded background which moved. Using this media technology enabled me to broaden my editing skills further and create professional looking titles that made my teaser trailer more engaging, as titles are an important aspect of a teaser trailer. From my audience feedback, I received positive feedback on my titles, saying that the release date one looked realistic, and they liked the logos of social media as they were relevant and up to date with the times. They also liked the age restriction title, but felt that the production company could have been better as the title blended in with the background and wasn't that clear. I could reconsider this for next time when creating titles, but overall After Effects has been very helpful in allowing me to create titles that benefit the overall production. I used Photoshop throughout the use of my ancillary tasks when creating the film poster and magazine cover. I had little to no experience when it came to using Photoshop, so websites such as YouTube was helpful in educating myself quickly in achieving the edit I wanted. I created a skull effect on my poster and magazine, and I have created a tutorial on how I made the half skull face. I found a picture of the skull I wanted to use and added it over the image. I then changed the optimacy of the skull image so that I could place the skull image over the face, so that the jaw, eyes and nose would fit over her face, so it was all aligned and looked natural and as realistic as possible. I then placed the image and changed the optimacy back to normal. I then rasterised the image so that I could then edit it. I chose the paintbrush in the black colour and I rubbed the entire image of the skull out. I then changed the paint colour to white and started on the teeth and started rubbing it back in. I done this so that I could rub out Abby's face instead of the skull, so that the skull would look like it was behind Abby instead of in the front of the face. I changed the rubber to the chalk setting so the edge of the skull would be sharp and more bitty, so it looked as though the skin had broken. Photoshop was very helpful in creating the desired effect, and I gained a lot of skill and I learnt a lot more about using the platform, which I didn't know how to use before. I now feel a lot more confident in using the program, and I feel like I can develop my skills further the next time I use the program to develop even more high quality edits. I also used the program InDesign, which I had little knowledge of before, and I was able to create both my magazine and film poster on the application, and I feel both ended up looking realistic. As stated by audience research, already stated above, that the magazine cover looked very realistic, and this meant that I developed new skills while using the program. I felt a lot more confident using InDesign. Throughout the creation of my production, I used various pieces of equipment so that I could create my teaser trailer. I used a Panasonic camera to film the whole production with, and this enabled me to film within HD, which meant I could have better quality videos. I already had experience using this camera, so I used it within last year's production. This meant that this year I could develop my skills further and use the different features of the camera. The camera had the feature of a light, focus pull, white balance, zoom and many more features. This camera helped to develop my skills further and gain more skills on the use of a camera. The next piece of equipment I used was the tripod, which I used along with the camera. This allowed me to pan easily and steadily and have smooth shots. It also allowed me to gain height on the camera by extending the legs and also winding the lever to get it even higher. Overall, the use of these two pieces of equipment together enabled me to have HD footage along with a smooth and steady shot to create a more professional look overall. Finally, with my evaluation, I used various other techniques which use media technology, for example the voiceover used within question 1 and the video footage of me within this question right now. I have used Premiere to create these videos and simply edit these clips together. I used an on-screen recording device to film all the edits and screen examples. I used a Panasonic camera to film myself and used a voice recorder on my laptop to record my voice. All of these media technologies have allowed me to develop the evaluation questions in interesting and visually pleasing formats and a more new media aspects. This allowed me to provide visual footage of evidence of the work I have done so that I can clearly show the work on which I am commenting on, and this creates a clearer connection. Overall, I've used media technologies in various ways, and this has furthered my experience in various media platforms so that I could build confidence in using them next time around. Overall, evaluating the use of them have really made me notice how far I have come and just how helpful and beneficial media technology has been in helping me create this project.